Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to continue our discussion about rewriting a quadratic function from general form to standard form. But in this lesson, we're going to look at using the vertex formula because you all know the vertex formula. So remember in the previous lesson, we talked about completing the square. That's important as well because you are going to have some problems where you're going to have to use completing the square. And in this lesson, you're going to use the vertex formula. All right, so remember though that general form in a quadratic function that's written in general form looks like this. F of x equal ax squared plus bx plus c. And the standard form, remember that's the same thing as vertex form. So that's the same as vertex form. And that is f of x equal a times x minus h squared plus k. All right. Okay, and again, we want to use the vertex formula. So remember the vertex formula, given a quadratic function that's in general form. So remember the vertex formula is this, and we're going to talk about how to use it again. You had it in our previous lessons and worksheets. But you have negative b divided by 2a is a coefficient of x. And remember, all of these b's and a's are coming from these coefficients and these constants here. And then once you find the x-coordinate, to find the y-coordinate of your vertex, you're going to take that x and substitute into where we see the variable x. So it'll be f of negative b divided by 2a. All right? So that's going to be your h, and that's your k of your vertex. So let's look at an example. So number one, so you want to write each in standard form. Write each in standard form. Okay, so f of x equal, let's say we have 4x squared minus 32x plus 61. All right, so that's what we have here. Okay, so remember when using the vertex formula, you need to denote what a, b, and c are. See, this is general form right here. So a is 4, b, now be careful, always make sure you write the correct coefficients. So b is a negative 32, not a 32, a negative 32. And c is your constant, so c is 61. Okay? And so the vertex, when finding the vertex, we first of all found h. Remember, h is the x-coordinate. So we found h, which is the x-coordinate of the vertex, right? X-coordinate of the vertex. And the formula for finding the x-coordinate of the vertex is this right here, negative b divided by 2a. And so negative b, think of negative b as the opposite of b. Think of it that way. So if b is a negative 32, the opposite of a negative 32, right, is a positive 32, correct? And over here we have 2 times a is 4, which gives us 8. And so 32 divided by 8 is 4. So the x-coordinate of my vertex is 4. So h is 4. Okay? All right, now once we find the x-coordinate, once we know what x is, to find y, we go back and we substitute, where we see the x, we substitute 4. So k is the y-coordinate of the vertex, right? And so to find k, then we're going to take 4 and we're going to substitute back into our function. So to find k, you're going to say now f of 4. And so f of 4 then becomes 4, where we see the variable x, you substitute 4. So you get 4 times 4 squared minus 32 times 4 plus 61. And so we have 4 squared 16, 16 times 4 is 64, and then 32 times 4 is 128, so we have minus 128 plus 61. So 64 minus 128 is a negative 64, and a negative 64 plus 61 is a negative 3. All right, so remember, we want to write in standard form. So remember, standard form was this. It's this right here, So f of x equal a times x minus h squared plus k. So to write this in standard form, remember you got to find h and k. So I found h is 4, right? And I found k is negative 3. But the problem is I got to determine what A is. So A, remember, A is the A you see here, that A you see here, this A right here, is the same as this A. Always keep that in mind. So once you get to that point, in vertex form, you know your H, you know your K now. This A, you gotta remember, oh, A is the same thing as the coefficient of x squared. And so in this case, A is 4. So A is 4 here. So that part is going to be this right here. Okay? And so therefore the answer then, and remember you're going to have to simplify. So let's do this first. So you're going to say, so remember you want to write f of x in this form. So you're going to say f of x equal A, which we now know is 4, right? Because that's A, times x minus, remember x minus h in this case is 4 squared, and then plus k, and k is a negative 3, so write it as minus 3. And so there's your answer. That's all you do. Okay, so that's just using the vertex form. So let's do another problem. So remember, this is not completing the square. You use the vertex form. But just to let you know, the derivation to get to that formula does involve completing the square. But we didn't go over the derivation of that, how to derive this vertex formula. All right, number 2, let's suppose this was number 2. All right, so number 2, let's suppose we had this. Let's suppose that g of x is equal to a negative 3x squared plus 12x, and make sure I'm not using this, okay, 12x, and then minus 7, let's say. All right, and so you want to write in the form, in standard form. So you're going to write in the form g of x equal a times x minus h squared plus k. So I'm going to write in that form. Remember, there are 3 things you must know. You got to find 3 things. You got to find a, h, and k. A, h, and k. So those are the 3 things you have to find. You already know one right away, right? You know a. What's a? Negative 3. So remember, a is negative 3, b is 12, and c is negative 7. Although you really don't need that in the finding h. You don't need negative 7 to find the x coordinate of the vertex. All right. So you need to find a, h, and k. So I already know a. A is negative 3. That I know. So let's find the x coordinate of the vertex. So let's find h. So we got to find the vertex. So let's find the vertex. So the vertex, remember the vertex formula is the x coordinate is negative b divided by 2a. Once you find the x coordinate, you substitute into your function. Negative b divided by 2a. F of negative b divided by 2a. In this case, it will be g though. So let me write it as g. G of negative b divided by 2a. Okay, so the x coordinate of the vertex, which is h, is going to equal the opposite of b divided by 2a, right? And so b in this case is 12, so I get negative 12 divided by 2 times a. A is negative 3. So I get negative 12 divided by negative 6, which is a positive 2. So there's the x coordinate of the vertex. And so now to find the y coordinate of the vertex, which is k, we're going to substitute 2 back into the function. So we're going to substitute 2 back into the function g of x. So that becomes g of 2, and so that's going to be negative 3 times 2 squared plus 12 times 2 minus 7. And so then I get 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And then 12 times 2 is 24 minus 7. And then negative 12 plus 24 is 12. And 12 minus 7 is a negative 5. I'm sorry, positive 5, excuse me. Positive 5. And so therefore the answer then will be g of x is equal to, and we're trying to get in this form, so a, which is negative 3, times x minus h, which is 2, the x-coordinate of the vertex, squared, and then plus 5. K is 5. And so there's your answer. All right, let's do one more, number 3. All right, this is number 3. So number 3, you have, let's say we had f of x equal 3x squared plus 9x minus 2. All right, so a is 3. Remember, this is general form, so a is 3, b is 9, c is negative 2. And we're going to write in the form, so write g of x, in this case f of x, write f of x as f of x equal a times x minus h squared plus k. All right, now remember, this a right here is the same as this a here, okay? So just keep that in mind. All right, so we found the a. Now remember, you have to find also h, and we have to find k. So we got to find those as well, right? Okay, so the x-coordinate of the vertex, which is h, is going to equal negative b divided by 2a. And so if b is 9, the opposite of 9 is negative 9, divided by 2 times a, which is 3. So that's negative 9 divided by 6, which reduced, make sure you reduce it, makes things a lot easier for you, which reduced is negative 3 halves. Okay? Once you find the x-coordinate, then you're going to find the h-coordinate. The y-coordinate. The y-coordinate of the vertex is going to equal k. So remember, to find k, you take negative 3 halves and substitute it back into your function wherever you see the variable x. So there's going to be f of negative 3 halves. And now this is going to be a little bit trickier because you're dealing with fractions now. Okay, so be careful. So you get 3 times negative 3 halves squared, okay, plus 9 times negative 3 halves. So where we see the variable x, you substitute negative 3 halves. So you see that's happening. And then minus 2. All right, now you have fractions to deal with. So in the previous problem, that was not an issue because those were integers. 2 squared is 4, 4 times negative 3, 2 times 12 is 24, and so on. Those were integers. Now you have fractions to deal with, so be careful. So if you do it by hand, let's remember you have to, when doing by hand, just remember order of operations. You got to square before you multiply. So negative 3 halves times itself, this becomes 3 times negative 3 halves times itself is a positive 9 fourths. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so be careful. Over here, so that becomes 9. 9 times negative 3 is a negative 27 divided by 2, because that's 9 over 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And then minus 2. Now this becomes 3 times 9 is 27 divided by 4. So I get 27 divided by 4 minus 27 divided by 2 minus 2 divided by 1. So now you're going to find a least common denominator, which is going to be 4. So you're going to write 4 fractions with that denominator 4. This the denominators are already the same, so the numerators have to be the same, and 27 fourths is equivalent to itself. Here you want to rewrite you want to rewrite 27 halves as some fraction equivalent with a denominator 4. So don't forget what you're doing. Just remind you, what you're doing is you have a 2 here. You want to get a 4, so you're going to multiply by 2 and times 2. All right, you can't see it very well, so I'm going to use a different color. So times 2 times 2. Okay, so 27 times 2 is 54. So that here is 54. And then the same thing here, times 4 times 4, 2 times 4 is 8. Kind of makes sense because 8 fourths reduces 2 divided by 1. 54 fourths reduces 27 halves, and 27 fourths is equivalent to itself. So now I can combine all these now into one. So 27 minus 54 is a negative 54, and a negative 54 plus 8, I'm sorry, 27 and a negative 54 is a negative 27, right? Okay, negative 27 and a negative 8 is a negative 30, was that 35? So you get negative 35 divided by 4. All right, so if you have a phone, so you know you have a calculator on your phone, right? So just say 27 minus 54 and then minus 8. So you get, oops, I'm sorry, negative 38 divided by 4. Okay, negative 38 divided by 4. Okay, so 27, oops, good Lord, okay, 27 minus 54 minus 8 is 35, so I was correct. So negative 35 divided by 4. All right, now remember you have access to a calculator, so let's do this using a calculator. Here's what you would do. Now this is by hand. Now remember, some of you, and I mean it's true, some of you still have a little issue with finding least common denominators and equivalent fractions. If you have access to a calculator, if you do it this way, verify your work. Verify your work. I mean, you need to know how to do this, all right? But always verify your work on a calculator. So just do this right here. You're going to enter like this. You're going to say 3 in parentheses, just like this, just like you see it. Negative 3 divided by 2, close the parentheses. You're squaring it, so you're going to square. See it? You square it. And then plus 9 times in parentheses, 9 in parentheses, negative 3 divided by 2, close the parentheses, and then, oops, shoot, I forgot the 3, didn't I? Oh, got it. So let's do it again. So negative 3 divided by 2, okay, close the parentheses, and then subtract 2. And you get negative 8.75, which is this. All right, so change that back to a mixed number. So second PRB, press equal, and you get negative 8 3/4. So remember, 4 times 8 is 32. 32 plus 3 is 35. So you get a negative 35 fourths. All right, so there's your y coordinate of your vertex. So that's K. So now we have the answer. So the answer, you're going to say f of x is going to equal a, which is 3, times x minus, all right, x minus h. H is negative 3/2 squared plus k, which is negative 35 fourths. All right, now I'm not going to write this as the answer. You got to simplify this. Don't leave it like this, and don't say plus the negative here. We do expect you to go ahead and rewrite this in a better mathematical way. So subtracting a negative means addition. So this becomes f of x equal 3 times x plus 3/2 squared, and then minus 35 fourths. So that's what we want you to write. So if you leave it like this, I'm not going to give you full credit because I want this to be written. All right, so there's your answer. All right, guys, so that is the lesson on using the vertex formula to write the equation, a quadratic function from general form to standard form. All right, so that's going to be the end of this lesson.